Hello, my name is Casey, and I'm here to share my review of a book that I read. Um, it's called In Shining Whatever. It is a romance book. It's written by Carolyn Brown, and I'm not generally into romance books. I'm more of a nonfiction reader. I like to read things about finances, investing, being wealthy, wealth principles, money management, also holistic health and things of that sort. But I went into the library and I randomly walked to a section and randomly picked a book. And this book was the first book I saw that wasn't thick. I'm not used to really reading thick books just yet, so I thought I'd start out with something like this. And the title itself, it won't make sense until you read chapter 2 or 3. I forget which one, but either chapter 2 or 3, you get to understand the purpose of why it's called that. The cover, if you judge the book by its cover, you wouldn't read it because it's a plain cover, as I showed you. It doesn't really tell you much of anything, and I didn't read the back of the book to see what it was about. I just took it. And I didn't read that it was a romance until I got home. I was afraid that I might be disappointed in reading it, but I will say it was an enjoyment in reading it. One of the first things I like about not just books, but television shows and movies and even plays, my favorite TV shows are detective shows because I like to not know what's going on until we get to the end of it. Lifetime movies are my favorite. I don't watch Lifetime anymore, but I used to because I really enjoy the twists and turns and not knowing what's going to happen, and you think you know what's going to happen. And even in this book, you know the ending. It's a romance, so you know the two get together. But from beginning to end, you have no clue how it's going to happen because each chapter presents a different turn or a different twist, and that's what I like. I like to not know what's going to happen in the next chapter, and there's no way of knowing. Each chapter gives a different twist, a different turn. Something else happens that causes the two to not get together. And in the beginning of the book, because I didn't read really the front of the book or the back of the book, I had no clue what type of book it was. It started, you think it's a murder mystery because someone does get murdered in the beginning of the book, but it does get solved before the book is over. And so that's when I kind of realized it wasn't a murder mystery. And reading the book, the front of the cover does say 3 magic words, romance. And so that's when I realized it's a romance book instead. But it was fun, in my opinion, getting to the end, figuring out how do they finally get together. One of the things I liked about the book is the book primarily takes place in Texas and in New Orleans, and I learned a lot about New Orleans. I didn't really know much about New Orleans other than Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, and a little bit that a lot of people speak French there, and there's a lot of French way of living there. But I didn't know about this party that they have, can't remember the name of it, where they roast a whole entire pig. Like the entire pig gets like old school on a stick and they roast it. And I didn't know that about New Orleans. And there's a lot of information in there about New Orleans that I was excited to read about. There's a lot of old school things in New Orleans still, as far as the couple were stuck on an island due to the woman's grandmother who figured out a way to get them two stuck on an island, and they live in this shack and they have to live old school, as far as taking a shower. There was no hot water, cooking with an old school oven where you got to fire it up with coal and things like that. And so it was just an interesting book, and it was kind of annoying at some points because the woman in the book, the female who, the love interest, she takes a very long time to coming around to finally, at the very end, spoiler alert, getting married to her significant other, because when they were children, they were dating, and then he broke up with her to go back with his old girlfriend. And throughout the book, that's what she's afraid of. She's afraid he's going to do the same thing, and so she doesn't trust him. She never forgave him for breaking her heart, etc., etc. And it's, in a sense, I mean, I can completely understand why she doesn't trust him anymore, but it makes her seem so immature, because this was like middle school, and they're like 30s, in their 30s now, almost 40s, and she still hasn't forgiven him because of that. And she keeps mentioning it over and over again, and at some point you're like, get over it. But of course at the end she finally gets over it. But it was just, I don't know what else to say. The book was just very interesting to me. I would highly recommend it. It was an easy read in my opinion, and so for someone who's just getting into reading, I would say it's an easy read. You could definitely read it for those who read books like crazy, eat up books like nothing. You could definitely read it within 2 to 3 days easily, because it's a simple read, and it makes you want to keep reading, because like I said, once you get to the next chapter, something else happens, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen next, and how are they finally going to get together, and you know there's going to be a wedding at the end of this book, but you just don't know how, because like I said in the beginning, you think it's a murder mystery. And then when they solve the murder, you're like, well, now what? And then the two, like I said, they grew up together. She moves away to New Orleans, gets a wonderful job, and then she moves back to Texas. And they end up going to a friend's wedding, and they see each other, and he wants to get with her immediately, but she, like I said throughout the book, has her reservations, and she knows she wants him physically, but she's afraid. She's not sure if she really loves him. It was just an interesting book, and I highly recommend it for anyone who's into romance novels. It's not the type of romance novels, you know, the kind where the cover, they have the half-naked guy kissing all over the woman. It's not that type of trashy romance novels that, you know, most people hear about. It was a nice, a decent book, in my humble opinion. And I enjoyed reading it, and I can definitely see it as a movie, a Lifetime movie. The only thing I will say is the very last page of the book, I got confused. And some things were said that didn't make sense, and I felt upset because it was the last page. There was nothing else, you know, you couldn't get clarity, because that was it. That was the end of the book. And it actually had something to do with her friend's mother, who basically tells Kate, who is the main character, she tells her, where is it? Well, we'll take care of, Aunt Maud hugged her from behind and whispered in her ear, I'm so glad to see you settling down and happy like Fancy. This fall, when I die, Sophie is going to need your attention. And I just thought, how do you know you're going to die in the autumn? I don't get that. I didn't get that at all. And then she talks about how she left half of her belongings to her nephew, and she's just giving Kate all this information. It seems like to me the information was too late to give, being that this is the last page of the book, and it didn't make any sense to me that this woman is telling this Kate that she knows she's going to die. And that's the only part of the book I had a problem with, because it was like, it seemed like the information came too late and it wasn't needed. I mean, the book was basically done, and I felt like this information that was given wasn't needed unless I misunderstood the information. That would be the only thing I had a problem with the book. I did notice some minor typos, which I was shocked, because I am the typo king. I can write a sentence and there'll be 200 typos in it. And so for me to notice typos is, I find it odd, because I usually don't. But other than that, it was a good learning experience for me. Like I said, learning not only about New Orleans, but they did throw some information in there about Texas as well, because it also takes place in Texas, things I didn't know about. But other than that, it was an easy read. It was a fun read. It was something because I read like 2 chapters a day, and in the morning before getting ready for work, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed waking up reading those 2 chapters, because I knew it was going to be something fun, and it was going to be something unexpected, and I wasn't going to know what was going to happen next, and how she was going to finally end up with him, being that at one point, she gets a phone call from her old boss from New Orleans because she was living in Texas, and they ask her, "Do you want to come back? We want you back." And she leaves, and she leaves him in Texas. She goes to New Orleans to try to forget him. And he follows her there and causes problems, and she, in some ways, has two other guys running after her, but they're both I think they're both, no, one is engaged, the other one is about to be engaged, but they both still want her. But it was just always something going on to make you think maybe they're not going to get together after all, because there were so many promising things happening. But I guess, like fate, some things just can't not be done. Things have to be done. And so, again, In Shining Whatever by Carolyn Brown, a good romance short book for those who like romances. And if you don't read it anyways, you might like it. Like I said, it was unexpectedly good. I wasn't expecting to enjoy the book, like I said, because the cover was nice and plain, and I didn't know what it was about because I didn't even think to read the back of the book. I just grabbed the book, checked it out, left, went home, and started reading it. And I was afraid that I might not even like it enough to continue reading it. But I did. I enjoyed it enough to continue reading it. So again, In Shining Whatever, about Kate and Jethro, two people who are destined to be together, but throughout the book, so many bumps prevents them from getting together. And like I said, I enjoyed it, and I give it I say a 4-star out of 5 stars. Like I said, only because of the ending. The ending didn't make sense to me. It felt like the information that was given was unnecessary. Because, well, then again, I know this is part 2. There's 3 books. This is part 2. So maybe the 3rd book gives more information about this woman who believes she's going to die soon. And so maybe I'll go read it, or maybe I'll read the 1st book and then the 3rd book. I didn't know this was a trilogy either, because I didn't really pay attention to the anything. I just saw the title, In Shining Whatever, and grabbed it. Like I said, it was like this in the library, and it looked like one of the shortest books out of that whole section that I was in, and that's why I grabbed it. But yes, if you are interested, this is a trilogy, and this is the 2nd book out of the 3. And so I would find Carolyn Brown, her website. She does have a website, and see the 1st book and maybe read it in order. But I do, and it is about 3 friends who grew up in school, and like I said, they later in life get together and they bring their lives back together. And I'm assuming the 1st book is about the girl who gets married, because in the book her friend gets married. So I'm assuming the 1st book is about her, and then the 3rd book is about the other girl who's not married yet, whose aunt believes she's going to die soon. It was weird, but I guess because I read this book out of order, maybe that's why. And so that's it for now, In Shining Whatever by Carolyn Brown. If you like romance, and if you don't, like I said, try it. Like I said, I wasn't really a fan of fiction. Most of my books that I read are nonfiction, and I enjoyed it because I like the unexpected. I don't like to read a book and know everything that's going to happen. You didn't know anything until you got to the very end. I mean, you knew the end, they were going to get together, but you didn't know how. And that's what I liked about it the most. So that's it. I'm Casey, and I'm reviewing In Shining Whatever by Carolyn Brown, a good romance book about 2 people, Kate and Jethro, who grew up together as children. They split apart because one moves to New Orleans, and then when she comes back to go to a friend's wedding, they see each other, and I guess you can say sparks spark, whatever. And like I said, the beginning, the fact that I said this is a romance novel, the beginning is a little unexpected because someone does die in the beginning, and I honestly thought it was a murder mystery, and I was excited for a moment because I like murder mysteries. But when they solved it by chapter 3, I was like, okay, this can't be a murder mystery, because you don't solve a murder mystery within 3 chapters when there's like 20 chapters. So that's it. Thank you for watching. This is In Shining Whatever by Carolyn Brown, and that's it. Thank you. Have a good day.